Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a large furniture solo project upcycle, which are my favorite videos to create for you guys. I have done multiple of these in the past. As many of you guys know, I did this bookcase on my channel, which I'll put a card for you guys if you are curious. And I also created this console on my channel as well. Now, as you guys can see, I'm sitting up against an Ikea Tarva dresser, which is honestly an iconic dresser by Ikea. It is just a pine base. It's totally customizable. You could paint it, DIY it, do whatever you want to it. And today I'm going to be taking my older dresser, which I've had for probably around a year or so, I would say, and I've used this to store all of my craft supplies for a long time, and it still actually is in my craft room, but I want to go ahead and give this an upcycle and an update because it has just turned so yellow over the past year for some reason. I don't know why the wood tone is just so yellow. It's just not aesthetic. I want to go ahead and paint this, give it a whole new life, and I have a really fun idea with some of this, which I found at the basket and cane supply store over by my apartment this morning, you guys. This is what's called fine raffia cloth, and I want to use that on the front of the drawers as well. So I guess we're just gonna go ahead and see how this progresses. I truly don't have the most set direction. I don't know what handles I'm gonna be using yet. I don't know what paint color I'm gonna be doing. However, I do know I want to go ahead and apply this material on my drawer fronts, and we can work on it from there. And the reason that I'm opting for this material here is because a couple of dressers that I've been loving lately by CB2 and Serena and Lily, and a couple of the more expensive brands when it comes to furniture, have been using a material very similar to this on their dressers and drawer fronts to almost give them a fabric appearance. So let's go ahead and get started.
Smile vacant for the picture. Parents waiting in the driveway. Oh my darling Arizona.
Hardware has been removed, and now it is time to figure out how I'm applying this. Now, I already went ahead, and as you can see, it's pretty see-through, and when I put it over the top of the wood, I honestly thought it would be perfectly fine, but you can see these like kind of chunky knots, like this literally looks almost like a nipple, through the cloth. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just apply a coat of this paint here. This is from an old project, just a sample. I'm actually just gonna apply this to the front of all of our drawer fronts because I feel like once I have this kind of like whitish base, this will actually look quite a bit nicer on top and just blend in a little bit more, and you won't see these big knots here. So that is what I'm gonna start off by doing, just giving this a base for the material thin to sit on top of so we don't have any dark kind of like random areas. All right, you guys, my DIY is done. I'm all done. Here's my finished dresser. No, but actually I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let this coat of paint dry so then we can see how it looks with the actual material placed on top of it. So I'll be right back. I'm also gonna go ahead and just mark each of my drawers because I know that I like the location of each of them and they fit in there nicely. If you guys have done IKEA furniture before, you know that sometimes the drawers are not perfect. So I'm just gonna mark these with the number of where the drawer goes just so I can put them back in the right order. So we have our painted drawer front here, and as you can see, when we put the material on top now, you cannot see any of those knots, even though like you can kind of see one right there a little bit. You really cannot see it at all once the material is placed over the top, which is great. And the other amazing thing about this material as well is that my little edging pieces are about 1 inch wide, so it seems like I have the perfect width to go all the way across this drawer here. Once you kind of start the cut, it's almost like it's a grid, so you can kind of just follow the same line all the way down. The adhesive I'm gonna be using is actually just Mod Podge. I know that that sounds a little strange to be adhering a whole material on a dresser with this, but it's actually super strong strength glue and it's perfect for a project like this. It dries clear. I've used Mod Podge on multiple furniture flips in the past and it works great. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this and just put a generous coating down on our drawer front and then let it actually sit for a couple of minutes to become a bit tackier. Then we're going to be applying our material on top, smoothing it out and letting it dry. I placed a couple of books down just to help the drying process, make sure it's nice and mended to the drawer front, and then I'm gonna remove the books and repeat the process to the next couple of drawers as well. The material is really already flush, like I'm pulling on it, and it's nice and adhered to the top of our surface here. And then of course the trim will cover up all of these raw edges. So I'm gonna let this air dry now for the rest of the drying time and work on the next couple drawers. Alrighty friends, we have all of the material adhered to the front side of all of the drawers. They are still currently drying a little bit. There are a couple drying up here. I actually have them facing down so that way it really adheres it down. And then we have one over here. So the next step in the process is actually going to be using this wood trim here. Now I got this at Lowe's. It's just like a simple little pine wood trim. I'll put the dimensions up for you guys on the screen. It is about 8 feet tall and I'm gonna need a couple more of these, but I ended up just grabbing one for now. That way I can go back and get more if needed. And I'm gonna share with you guys the best way to cut these. I actually don't even know the best way to cut these, so it's gonna be a trial and error for both of us. But once I have them cut and adhered to the front, I think it's gonna really clean off the drawer fronts. Now the trim on the drawers was actually the scariest part for me. I was a little bit concerned with this because I had never done any form of angled cuts or anything like that, but I used my miter saw and I set it on 45 degrees. Now all you have to do in order to create these cuts perfectly is create your first angled cut at 45 degrees just wherever you can on your piece of wood, then measure out the length of your drawer, which mine happened to be 29.5 inches. I measured that out and ensured that I then went ahead and cut in the right direction for my angle. So I went ahead and had 2 angles kind of pointing into the middle, and that's going to go ahead and frame off the outside of our drawer here. Also keep in mind that once you have one of your trim pieces cut perfectly, you can literally just trace that same exact shape onto your next piece of trim and use your miter saw to cut it out exactly as shown. Of course, every now and then you are going to have to go back and maybe cut off a little bit extra here or there, but I always do suggest cutting a little bit more than you think, because that way you can always go back and kind of cut a little bit extra off if need be. So of course we're gonna go ahead and trim up the front of these dresser drawer fronts to make them look nice and pretty. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I liked about this one and what I did not like. So the first thing I did was I applied my bottom piece and then I did the side pieces next. But something I realized that kind of made all of my drawers just finish off really nicely and just made them all kind of uniform and similar looking was actually doing the top and bottom first. So on this one here, you can see that I'm going to be applying the top piece first, and then I'm going to be doing the bottom piece second, and then I'm going to be adding my side pieces on after that. And the reason being is that you can easily adjust your side pieces, but once you have your side pieces attached down, and if they're a little bit too long, the actual top piece is going to overhang and it just won't make the drawer fit properly. So I do suggest applying the top and bottom first, and then just adjusting your side pieces until they fit perfectly in between those sections, and it's going to be a nice framed off drawer front. So that, you guys, is how I'm going to be doing each of the drawer fronts. As you can see, there is a tiniest little sliver in between each of them, but I'm actually going to go through and fill those in afterwards. So do not worry, I have to fill in the nail holes anyways. So I'm going to fill those in. Then we're going to go ahead and paint all of this, which is going to look super nice. So excited about that part. It is day 2 of our little dresser transformation, and I already went ahead this morning and sanded down all of our caulking that we applied, which basically filled all of the holes and any of the basically joints where the 45-degree angles matched up, because that was my first time ever doing any form of 45-degree angle cut and trying to mend them together. And it was a little bit challenging at first, but once you get it down, it's actually really simple. And I was able to do all of the drawer fronts, and as you guys can see, they look pretty good to me. They're definitely not the most perfect ever, but I think I'm just gonna blame it on the Ikea cabinet. Like, you know, Ikea furniture is always not the most perfectly aligned, if you know what I mean, so let's just blame it on that. Now, I actually went to the paint store this morning and picked up 2 different paint options. I really didn't know which one I wanted to go for, so I actually just wanted to go ahead and test them on here, and they're pretty neutral, so I can totally use these in future projects again, deciding on which one I actually don't end up using. So the colors I opted for are White Dove by Benjamin Moore and Pale Oak by Benjamin Moore, which are both like off-white tones, and I also opted for both of these in a satin finish. I really thought that something with a little bit of a sheen sheen would look nice on this dresser, as opposed to having everything super, super matte. I thought something with a tiny bit of luster would be quite nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and test both of these samples out on the drawer fronts. I kind of want to sample them actually on the front kind of the wood here to get an idea of how it's gonna look with our actual raffia material there. So let's go ahead and swatch these on the dresser. Edged all of our drawers, so all of the drawers now have that inner lining edged, and it just took quite a while because I had to do it by hand, and I realized I don't have a paint tray, so I'm actually just gonna literally use this canvas that I had and just keep the plastic on the bottom side, pour the paint into here, and then my foam roller should fit nicely in there. So I think that should actually work out all right. I also opted for the pale oak color just because I thought it was a little bit darker, just like a tiny bit more fun than the white dove color. Just the white dove seemed a little bit too white. This one has a tiny bit of like a beigey tone to it. Something I always do when I'm painting furniture is honestly, I always use a foam roller. I just feel like it gives such a smooth finish on the wood, and it's very easy to layer up the color as well. It goes on very smooth, and I also love how foam rollers don't really throw the paint anywhere, so it kind of just stays right inside of the foam and then transfers onto whatever you're painting. And especially with this satin finish paint, I think the foam roller did an amazing job at making sure it was nice and smooth, and it dried even, so it looked like one full coat of paint as opposed to like, you know, a streaky finish. I just added the first coat of paint onto the dresser, and look how cute it's looking so far. I just love the white color. It's perfect. It's the perfect shade of kind of like an off-white grayish beige, a greige if you will. So this is what we're going for at the moment. Now something that I've noticed with these Ikea furniture pieces is a lot of times you can actually see the wood grain through it still. I don't know if you can see it so much on camera, but I am gonna go ahead and apply a full second coat, and the foam roller just makes it go on so smooth and clean. I'm sure you probably can't see the texture either, but it looks amazing. And then I also did the satin finish, which kind of gives it a little bit of a sheen, which I like. I'm just loving the color so far. I think it complements this so nicely, and once we add our gold hardware, which is gonna add a little bit of depth, I think it's gonna look really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply a full second coat once this is fully dry, and I'll catch you guys back here afterwards. A few hours have gone by and the handles just arrived. I added all the paint to the dresser. It's looking amazing so far, and I already went ahead. I applied one handle because I truly just couldn't wait. My camera battery was actually charging, so let me share with you guys the handle. Here it is. It actually looks so cute on there. So it basically comes in two different components. You get this little kind of square piece here, which is the base plate, I guess. And then you have the circle piece that kind of hangs off of that plate section, which looks like this. And you just put the screw through the back side, and then you attach them both on the front, screw it in, and you are good to go. And I ended up ordering 6 packs of these. They come in a set of 2. I will say that they are a little bit on the pricier side. I spent about $60 for the entire dresser's handles, which I know is quite a bit. However, I really feel like these totally make the dresser. Like that was the piece I wanted to splurge on the most here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply all the other handles on here, and we can see what the dresser looks like. I'm in the living room with our finished little piece. Whenever I get to the last step, I'm always like, should I even show putting the knobs on? Because it kind of just reveals the whole project. But I'm very excited to share with you guys the final outcome. Now, a couple of things prior to sharing it with you guys is I have to say that this project was actually super, super simple. It was not hard at all. I totally could have done this in one day. Honestly, the entire build from start to finish probably took me around 6 or 7 hours of work, which I do not think is bad at all, because the final project totally looks like it could have came from like a Serena and Lily, or just like one of those expensive home decor sites I could totally see this dresser being like $1,400, and we probably made it for a little under $350 total, I would have to say. Of course, this is going back in my craft room because it's gonna be my craft storage still, so I wanted to style it in a place that kind of gave it its own glory, just because back in the craft room, there's a lot of stuff in there, so I ended up styling it on a living room wall, just to share with you guys like the full potential of what this piece could look like if you were to recreate it for your own bedroom. So let me share with you guys the final clips of this project right about now. And that, guys, finishes off our Ikea Tarva dresser flip, and I just love it. It is so, so cute. It's exactly what I pictured in my head, and I'm so happy to just not have that yellow toned wood in that craft space anymore. This is actually going against kind of like a sagey wall, so I think that these colors are gonna look so pretty with the sage, which I'm very excited about. I'll try to pop in a photo for you guys just of it in that craft space, just so you can see kind of what it looks like in there. But all around, so happy with how this turned out. I'm gonna put a final number here to share with you guys how much the total project cost. I've expressed in the past how much hardware can totally change a furniture piece. Like, you can make something look completely new with some brand new hardware, so I knew I wanted to invest in these really fun kind of ring poles, and I'll link those for you guys below as well. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching another one of my Ikea flip videos. If you guys have not seen any of my other ones, I'll link some of the popular ones in the description box below and add a couple of cards up there for you guys. And lastly, if you're not already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post brand new home decor and DIY content every single week, just like these projects here, and I will see you in my next one. Have an amazing rest of your day, guys, and I'm going to be transferring this and putting all my craft supplies back in it in a couple of seconds here. So that's what I'll be doing, but I hope you guys are doing something a little bit more exciting. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Bye, guys.